One of Us is a dialogue podcast profiling people in and around the Diocese of Wilmington. It also appears in writing in the print edition and online at thedialogue.org. The featured subject could be someone who works behind the scenes at your church or school, volunteers at the parish, or is a regular churchgoer or longtime parish member. Do you want to suggest a person to be profiled? My name is Mike Lang, and I'm a staff writer here at The Dialogue. Drop me an email at mlang@thedialogue.org or call 302-295-0637 if you have a suggestion for an interview subject. Ellie Johnson is a parishioner at Immaculate Heart of Mary in North Wilmington and a senior at Ursuline Academy in Wilmington. And the folks here at Ursuline nominated Ellie for One of Us, and we're glad that you've agreed to join us today. And Ellie, when I talked to you at the swim meet, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later, on Saturday, you talked about how important your faith was, and I said, I've got to get Ellie on One of Us, so thanks for doing this for us.
Happy to be here.
Just tell me a little basic bio. I'm sure you live up in North Wilmington somewhere.
I actually live in Hockessin.
Hockessin?
So
How'd you end up at IHM?
I don't know. I think when my parents were deciding on which church to go to, they just found IHM and they said, you know what, this is where we're meant to be. So, yeah, I've been there my whole life.
So who else is in the Johnson household?
Yeah, so I have my parents, obviously, and then I have an older sister. She's a sophomore at college. She goes to Lafayette College. And I have a brother who's in 8th grade at PS DuPont.
Awesome. Yeah. So just at IHM, you guys been there your whole life? Did you go to grade school there too?
So I actually went to public schools in the Brandywine School District, but we always went there for church.
Okay. Yeah. And how did you end up here at Ursuline?
So when I was deciding on which high school to go to, it was between here and a few other schools in the area, and Ursuline just felt like the right fit for me. I really like the Catholic education, but I felt like Ursuline was going to challenge me academically and be somewhere where I felt like I belonged and I fit in. And I'm really happy that I ended up here because I feel like Ursuline has really helped me grow as a person and as a student, an athlete, all that kind of stuff.
Great. So occupation, student, family, we got that out of the way. You talked about your faith on Saturday when I talked to you. So just tell me the most important part of your spirituality.
Yeah, so I'd say the most important part of my spirituality is just the fact that it's something to fall back on. In our lives, we have so much going on. Obviously, I'm a student athlete. I have a lot of things going on with school. Swimming's a big part of my life, and just the day-to-day things that take up so much of our time that sometimes we forget to take a step back and really reflect on where we are. And having my faith in God is just, it's like a crutch, like my rock. God is really somebody that I always fall back on. I try to pray every night, try to read scripture every night, and it's just a way to ground me. And so having my faith in my life is just the constant reminder of why I'm here, why I'm doing everything. And it's just it's a force of consistency in my life that keeps me going.
Great. You mentioned just what is it keeps you going. What kinds of things are you involved with here at Ursuline, church-wise, or at IHM? What kinds are you involved in anything at IHM?
Yeah, so I go to IHM for regular Sunday church, and here at Ursuline I'm part of the choir. So whenever we have mass here, I'm always doing the psalm responses, all that kind of stuff. So in the future, when I am an adult and stuff, I hope that I can be more involved in the church community, be a part of a church choir at IHM or wherever I end up. But right now I'd say my role in the church is just being there and being part of the choir here at Ursuline.
So I've asked some other students this question. You have mass here at Ursuline, obviously. You go to mass at IHM.
Yeah.
The mass is the same, but I'm sure it's a different. There's a difference between going to school with your classmates or your schoolmates and going to your regular parish.
Yeah.
I'm not asking you to rank them, but could you tell me a little bit about the difference when you go to mass here as opposed to your Sunday mass?
Yeah, so I'd say mass here at Ursuline, it's more about building community with one another. It's not every week. It's only for feast days or special holidays. And so it's not as frequent. I think we have mass maybe once every 1 or 2 months. And so I love Ursuline Mass because it's a great opportunity to like come together as sisters, and obviously the choir is a really important part of my role at Mass, and so I love Ursuline Masses for that reason, because like we're all together. And I would say the difference between that and IHM Mass is whenever I go to IHM Mass, it's more like, first of all, like it's every week, but it's also like a good opportunity to really focus on like the homilies, like the scriptures, all that kind of stuff. And so I'd say IHM Mass is more like reflective and focused, but Ursuline Mass is really good at like that community aspect, which are both like being focused on like the lessons of Mass is obviously such an important part of our faith because that's the whole basis of it, but being part of a church community is just as important.
Great. So I'm sure you thought about this, especially since I gave you the question. But if you could change one thing in your life as a Catholic, or is there something about the Catholic faith that you could change? Is there anything you would? Or
Yeah, so I would say that the thing that I would change if I could would just be creating a culture not only like at Catholic schools and at Mass, but like in like our like whole world, I guess, of like less I don't know how to explain it, like being more open about our faith. I feel like here at Ursuline I can like definitely express the fact that I am a Catholic, and that that's a very important part of my life, and obviously like at church like it's assumed that, but in other aspects of life I feel like people don't mention their faith that much. And so one thing that I would change is like being able to be more open about it, like in my swimming life, being like more honest with my teammates, my coaches, like all that kind of stuff about how important God is to me in my athletics. So I think that if we could talk about like our relationship with God and like our faith more openly, that would be really beneficial.
you mentioned your swimming. I want to make sure that we touch on just telling people a little bit about you. Mm-hmm. Obviously, I know you're going to be pretty modest about things, but you had yourself a fantastic championship, a couple of individual state championships, a couple relay championships. How long have you been swimming since you were just a little kid?
I've been swimming since I was 4.
And carrying on here at Ursuline, and you told me you're going to be swimming next year. Where?
I'm going to be swimming at Lehigh University.
At Lehigh, and your sister goes to Lafayette.
Yes, big rivalry.
How's that working out?
I think it's gonna be really fun. There's no like bad blood or anything, but Lehigh and Lafayette are very, very big rivals, and so I think it'll be honestly an opportunity for me and my sister to get closer. Because first of all, our colleges will be really close, so we can hang out. But I think it'll be cool to have a rivalry in the family.
We'll check in on you in a year or so, Ellie, and see how that's going. What other things, you mentioned the choir, what else do you do here at Ursuline? Anything?
So,
I'm sure you're busy.
I am pretty busy. Club-wise, I lead Music Appreciation Club, which lines up with me being in the choir. I'm also part of Math League, and obviously the UA swim team. So, I try to keep myself busy. Obviously, like, academics is a lot in itself, and doing club swimming is a lot because that's like 8 practices a week. So, I try to keep myself busy.
You probably swim from IHM right out to the to your swim club. Who knows? So, what are you going to study at Lehigh? Have you decided yet?
So, I'm going to be like in this engineering program, and so it's called the Ideas program, where it's like I can get a dual degree in a subject in the College of Engineering and the College of Arts and Sciences. So right now my plan is to mix civil engineering and architecture, which is so exciting.
Every kid I talk to, you guys are just way up here compared to where I was when I was in high school, and it's pretty exciting to hear that kind of stuff. So here at Ursuline, there's a great mix of students, a lot of non-Catholics here. I don't know if this has happened to you here or in Hockessin or at IHM, but if a non-Catholic comes to you and says, Ellie, why should I be a Catholic? Have you had that happen to you?
Yeah,
it has happened.
A few times.
And what have you told them?
So I would split this question into 2 parts. I would say the first part is, why should I have a relationship with God in general? And to that, I would say, I was not always like the strongest in faith. I was not always a dedicated Catholic, but around sophomore year, that started to change. I started to really grow my relationship with God. And I would say that not only is God such an incredible sense of like peace and comfort in my life and like is just like my firm foundation, but I'm very logical. I like to think about like the facts, like I'm a math science brain. And I realized that like it's so improbable, almost impossible, that our world is so perfectly created and lined up for our benefit, like just the perfection of the entire world, that I highly, highly doubt that there's not a creator. And that's why I have such a strong faith in God, because it's like there's no way that he doesn't exist. And there's so much like historical evidence about Jesus and his death and resurrection and all that stuff that I find it almost impossible that Catholicism and just Christianity in general is not the truth. So that's why I would say become a Christian, because it's the way, the truth, and the life, and it brings me such an incredible sense of peace and purpose. Second part of why Catholicism. When I first was like getting into my relationship with God, I was like, oh well, I don't know if I'm like specifically a Catholic, or like I don't know like what denomination I would most line up with. So I did a lot of research, and I think that Catholicism is the most in line with the Word of God. It's the most in line with church traditions that have been going on for centuries. And Catholicism, to me, is the most authentic way to connect with God and really understand the truth of, like God's purpose and everything like that. So I would say become a Christian because it's the way to go. Become a Catholic because it's, in my opinion, the most authentic form of Christianity.
Excellent answer.
Thank you.
And I could tell from hearing your answers, but what does your faith mean to you?
My faith to me, that's a loaded question. My relationship with God is just, it's given me such a sense of purpose and helped me realize why I'm here, and it's helped guide me in everything. Like before I make a decision or before something big in my life happens, I'm always like, God, like please lead me, be my strength, all that kind of stuff. So my faith to me is just the thing that keeps me going and reminds me of why I'm here, and gives me, again, a sense of peace, sense of accepting whatever happens, and knowing that whatever happens will turn out for good.
Well, Ellie, I want to thank you for joining us on One of Us, a profile on people who support the church in the Diocese of Wilmington. Don't forget to follow us online at thedialogue.org for your latest in Catholic news and features. I'm sure we'll run into each other before you graduate,
yeah.
and I have no doubt that you're going to be a success no matter what you do.
Thank you. Well, thank you for having me.
No problem. Thanks for doing this.
Of course.